Welcome back to the program. Separation of powers, interrelations between the arms of government. How can the three arms of government coexist without going on a collision course so as to carry out their respective duties? We'll continue the conversation from where we left it. The legislature, the duty of the lawmakers, as the name clearly states, is to make laws. You said that's the most important arm of government. Could you elaborate on that thought?
In a democracy, the difference between the dictatorships that we have had in the past is the structure we have in place, the House of the National Assembly, which consists of the House of Representatives and the upper chamber. Now, I think it's escapist, or we're just looking for excuses when it's like talking about colonialism being our problems in 2017. We can't keep talking about the fact that our democracies have been truncated in the past by the military. We have had several years of democracy now, and we need to ask ourselves, are we moving forward? Are we developing the institutions? Are we building the structure? Are we building the legislative structure as it should be? Are we emphasizing the tools? Are we using the tools available to us? The members of the House and the senators have several tools available to them. It's not just to summon people before the House of Assembly or demand that they wear uniforms before appearing before them. They have several options. They can sit and examine the laws, the acts that put certain institutions in place. They can sit down because the Constitution is very clear when it comes to the issues that have to do with where an act that is establishing a particular agency or institution, when there's a clash between it and the laws, the Constitution takes precedence or overall authority over it. So the Vice President might just not be speaking from his office as the Vice President. I don't want to hold brief for him, but he just might be speaking as a legal, like you mentioned, from a legal perspective. And if we want to develop the institutions, we want to grow this democracy, we must move beyond mediocrity, we must move beyond emotions, we must begin to look at the things that we need to do to develop these institutions above persons.
All right, Senator Mamara, would you say that the various arms of government are shirking their duties by getting enmeshed in infighting, failing Nigerians who they are supposed to, not just the lawmakers, because at the end of the day, they all represent Nigeria as a whole, as a country. They are there serving the country. Would you say that they are shirking their responsibility and getting enmeshed in matters that are not moving the country forward developmentally?
Well, I won't say that the arms of government are shirking their duties. They are not. I want to say, that the arms of government, they are doing what they think they can do in the circumstance they face. I'm saying this because we must understand that democracy is a process. It's not a destination. If it were to be a destination, America, that had been at it as the bastion of a presidential democracy, ought to have got to that destination after over 200 years. Britain had been at it for, well, maybe close to 500, I don't know, thereabout, years. They ought to have reached that destination. But they still have problems. It's a process that is, self-refining. Over and over and over, you keep working at it. You will make mistakes along the line, but you also make efforts to correct the mistakes and, of course, build institutions, which is very critical. Building of institutions is important. Now, and I'm saying that I'm still maintaining that position, that the legislature in particular, you see, people rush to compare our legislature here with what obtains in America. Yes, we copied quite a lot from their constitution, but in spite of that, don't forget that we have even done certain things that even America has not done. In terms of...
Such as?
Okay. You recall the other day that when the transition from acting president to full presidency.
As in the case of former president.
Yes, President Yar'Adua and all that.
Okay.
And
President Goodluck Jonathan.
Goodluck Jonathan. We had a situation which was not envisaged. Okay, and don't forget, when you look at the powers of the legislature, you have express powers that are clearly, unambiguously stated in the Constitution. You have applied powers, which are kind of extension of the express powers. I mean, for example, the power to make arrest. The legislature has that, but it's not the usual power. So it's an extension of the power.
Okay.
Okay. And then you now have assumed powers. So what happened? I was in the Senate then. Because a lacuna existed, it was what the Constitution says that the president must have communicated. But there was no communication.
So
that was why it then came up with that doctrine of necessity.
Okay.
Where we now have to, so that's something, because the process, look at what the National Assembly is trying to do now. Ordinarily, the Constitution provides for the setting up of Federal Executive Council or State Executive Council after the inauguration. But they followed a bit of the process of the present, ongoing constitutional amendment. And there are states where commissioners, have not been appointed. The Executive Council has not been in place, even for a year and more. So the legislature has now come up with the need to now put a time limit and say, once you are inaugurated, within so time limit, maybe 60 days or thereabout, you must have this. So it's part of the process.
Okay, let me go back to our guest in Abuja, Honorable Umulu. Could it be a case that the arms of government want to become laws unto themselves? We see raid on judges' homes for maybe when a question is raised over certain issues, security agencies go and raid went on a raid to the judges' homes, and then the issue of witch hunting comes up because some of the judges feel it's out of place for the searchlights to be beamed on them. And then we also have cases where who is the law unto the legislature? There's so many issues that have come up to play. And then we also have the case of the executive of recent, the suspended secretary to the general secretary to the federation, to the federal government, failing to appear before the Senate, even after being summoned 3 times. Is it that the various the people who make up these arms of government want to become laws unto themselves?